What's happening, guys? Happy Thursday, and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On this week's show, I've got 27 names. That's not a typo. I've got 27 names on the list, various trade targets for you, the Dynasty consumer. And I say I because I am alone. I am without the man of the hour and without the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. Now, for those of you that have listened to the show for a long time, and even those that are new, people are like, why are you so mean to Jerry? First of all, if you're new, I'm sorry. And if you're old, you should get it. It's a bit. It's totally a bit. I mean to Jerry because it's fun for the show. Jerry's one of my best friends. I love the guy to death, but Jerry's fur child, his dog baby, had surgery today, and he needs to be able to take care of this pup. And I know you can't break away for an hour to do a podcast. I'm not judging. Got to take care of his dog. That's his baby. So Jerry and your pup Lacey, I hope she's doing well. Jerry maybe can throw in some trade targets next week, but I've got a lot of them for you. And speaking of Jerry, Jerry right now from a podcast perspective, Jerry's locked in. Jerry's doing research. Jerry's doing notes before we record the show. I don't know if it's a Thursday thing. I don't know if Jerry's born again, reborn into the Dynasty game. I don't know. But Jerry has been locked in lately with his Dynasty content notes. And he sent me a couple of potential good people, bad tweets. And I have it down. I'm looking at my show sheet right now. And I could go over it. I could go over this by myself, but I don't want to do that. I want Jerry to be able to, jump in here and kind of share with us, me, his co-host, and you all, the listeners and watchers on YouTube, Player Profiler Now Plus, and share with us why he took it upon himself to send this to me. And I will not give it away, but I will tell you that it involves Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love. And this dude's a killer. Just absolutely wrecking shop. I think he probably could have been in the top 3 running backs in last year's class. Pretty slam dunk 101 in 1 QB and probably the 101 in superflex this year. And I'm not the guy who's always like the sensationalist that we have to take this highly touted college player and move him to the tippy top. So while I don't want to step on Jerry's tweet because we'll discuss it next week, his tweet made me think, and I wanted to have a little something for you guys from a good people, bad tweets perspective, is where would I today, only knowing that he's Jeremiah Love, he's had a great college career, he's 6 foot tall, he's 218 pounds per a quick Google search. So he's a full-grown man. He's played at Notre Dame. He's played in at least one national championship playoff bracket, probably going to play in a second one this year. Unlike Ashton Jeanty, he's not 5'8". He's not a small guy. So where would I put him today? And maybe a month ago, give or take, we did our Dynasty running back rankings at the mid-season point and not knowing where Love will ply his trade. Because as much as I wasn't a huge Ashton Jeanty stan, my issue with Jeanty was really more the landing spot. And I've been right. I've been right about the landing spot being bad. And more often than not, landing spot matters. I mean, if you talk about truly generational running backs like an Ezekiel Elliott in 2016 when he was a rookie, he led the NFL in rushing, had 15 rushing touchdowns. The Dallas Cowboys went 13-2 in the games he played that year. So dude was a beast right out of the box. Saquon Barkley, 1,300 plus rushing yards as a rookie, 7 touchdowns on a Giants team that went 5-11. If you're looking for some hope for the Ashton Jeanty stan crowd, if you're looking for hope, you can hang your hat on Bijan Robinson's rookie season. Bijan rushed for just under 1,000 yards, and that's the pace that Ashton Jeanty is on currently. He's on pace for 905 yards based on his current per game average. So just over 900. Bijan only had 4 rushing touchdowns. So if anything, there is some hope for the Jeanty crowd. But I'm just talking Jeremiah Love. Where would I put Jeremiah Love in my current dynasty rankings. So I'll give you where I'd put him, and I'll give you my rankings to date. From a dynasty standpoint, I have Gibbs 101, and it's Gibbs and Bijan Robinson in a tier unto themselves. Gibbs for different reasons than Bijan, but Gibbs is the 101 for me, Bijan too. I'm putting respect on Devon Achan's name. He's my 103. I still believe in Omarion Hampton. I still believe in that landing spot. I believe in what I've seen guys like Kamani Vidal do in LA. I'm a little concerned that he went on the quote-unquote short-term IR, the 4 weeks, and he's been gone way more than 4 weeks. The positive to that is that they're not rushing him back, which could lead to long-term downstream issues. So I still have him at 4, and then that's where I get into the Jeremiah Love could go here conversation. I have Jonathan Taylor at 5. Now remember, running backs, you're talking 2 to 3 years. You know, and it always goes back to Todd Gurley, right? Todd Gurley had this monster season, got injured, had some injury issues in college, and all of a sudden he was just gone. David Johnson, for those of you that have been playing for a long time, David Johnson, kind of the same thing. Dalvin Cook to a lesser degree. So I don't get so caught up in age at the running back position. I'm looking at a true 2 to 3 year arc. So Jonathan Taylor, I mean, you're seeing this guy wreck shop, and it's not just this year. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3, when he played with Carson Wentz, had a wonderful season. Last year had over 1,500 combined yards. And now this year he's on pace for 2,400 combined yards, on pace for potentially 2,000 rushing yards. So I've got to show him some respect. I get a little nervous. It's kind of like what I'm seeing this year with Saquon Barkley. I'm seeing with Derrick Henry, is that these guys get all of these carries and crush it. And go back 2 years ago when Christian McCaffrey did it. I'm always concerned that year after a monster workload running back year, that the following year could lead to injuries. But that's the line. Somewhere between 5 and 7. I have Judkins at 6, and then I would put Jeremiah Love right in there ahead of Genty, just ahead of James Cook, Breece Hall, Bucky Irving. So he's going to be right there 6-ish today. And we're talking November 20th. He doesn't have a team. He's not made it through the rest of the college season, but he's that good. I'm not going to get hyperbolic and rush him to the tippy top of my rankings, but I really like the guy, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this tweet with you guys next week and hearing Jerry's point of view of why he shared the tweet, why he wants to discuss it. And although I won't be able to do it until next year, I could see where Jeremiah Love could join guys like Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs as some of those guys I could put in quick 6 lineups.
Pour one out for an incredible best ball season. It was a breakout 2025 for Fast Draft, but now the NFL action has started. That means it's DFS season. That's right. You might think, oh, wow, DFS, I can't win DFS. Oh, but you can on Fast Draft. You just pick any 6 guys, and you put them in a handful of booster spots. There's no salary rubric you have to follow. You're not going up against thousands of killer bots in these tournaments. Oh, no. These are regular people grabbing their 6 favorite plays of the week, and that's all you have to do. And we post the ownership so that you can choose how much chalk you want. There is no drafting. It's called the Quick 6 Super Slam. The Quick 6 Super Slam is the signature DFS contest at Fast Draft. It is changing DFS. We are making DFS great again. So go to fastdraft.app and use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. And let's go start drafting faster.
Yeah, Fast Draft is the perfect companion to a shitty fantasy football season. If your seasonal team, your dynasty team is in the crapper right now and you're in a state where you can play Fast Draft, I absolutely love it. I'm not playing this weekend because Indiana is a bummer of a state. But next week, this coming Wednesday, I go pick my son up from college in Cincinnati, Ohio, good state. Fast Draft is legal. I'll have 10 to 12 drafts queued up. It's not really a draft. You're just setting lineups, but love Fast Draft. I talk about it because I love it, and use the promo code WarZone, all one word, all caps, WarZone. That gets you the dollar for dollar deposit match up to $50, and you can come Fast Draft with me next weekend. So one thing real quick, I got some trade notes for you, then I'll get into the 27 guys. But if I'm talking a little fast, A, that's how I talk. B, I just got back from the gym, and the pre-workout probably hasn't kicked off yet. I'm still in gym mode. I'm still in fired up mode, not listening to the music, but bear with me if I'm moving a little fast. I'll try to slow myself down. So here are some general notes about trades for you guys, regardless of what kind of shape your dynasty team's in. First note, I've said this for years. I've coined this. I think others have borrowed it. And by borrowed, I mean stolen. But you have to lose trades to win leagues. You cannot be afraid to lose that trade in the group chat. You cannot be afraid to lose that chat. You cannot be afraid to lose that trade anywhere. You have to know in your heart that you're making the right deal. You've done the research. You've done the forward thinking. And think back to Brock Purdy's rookie year. If you'd have paid more than a fourth, a third for Brock Purdy, you would have been laughed at. You would have been made fun of. And where would you be today? And that's kind of the point, is that you have to be able to have the guts to be able to lose a trade to win leagues. That's my favorite, and I'll start with that. Number 2, what do you really need? And this is more for the contenders than the rebuilders. I got some rebuild notes for you, but what do you really need as a contender? You need points, not necessarily names. It would be great to have a team full of sexy names that look great in March, and you can just look at all those great guys. And the names are important because they're the names because they have historically scored the points, right? But there's no need to always chase big names like Saquon Barkley when guys like Rico Dowdle and Javon Williams are playing at the same level right now. Javon's just a little bit ahead of Barkley in points on the season, and Rico just a little bit behind. And Rico wasn't the full starter the entire year. He started off as the backup behind Chuba Hubbard, and then he had that quasi benching. But as we sit here, he's in the top 5 in the league in rushing. So while Saquon Barkley, if you showed it to your coworker who doesn't play Dynasty, if you showed them your roster and says, hey, I got Saquon Barkley, they would know who that is. They may not know who Rico Dowdle is, but it doesn't matter. He's giving you the points. Justin Jefferson's another good example. On the season, Justin Jefferson is giving you 14.5 PPR points a game. He's in most people's Dynasty rankings, wide receiver 5 or better. But Michael Pittman is currently giving you 15 points a game, and he's going at like wide receiver 35 prices. So I'd love to go out and add a Justin Jefferson to my contending roster, but I know what it's going to cost me. And all I need is a contender. I just need points. But Michael Pittman's going to cost me a heck of a lot less, where a guy like Justin Jefferson may cost me 2 firsts. Michael Pittman may cost me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. So I'll give you my 26 and 27 second. And you just got currently through 10 games each, you've got more points on the season with Pittman than Jefferson. It seems odd. If you would have made that bet to start the season, you probably could have won some money. Hey guys, we're going to be through week 11. Both guys will have had their bye, and Michael Pittman will have more fantasy points than Justin Jefferson. You'd have won a nice bar bet being able to make that bet, but that's where we are. That's where we are. So you don't need necessarily names, you need points. And there are so many point producers that will not cost you that promising young guy on your bench. Maybe you don't want to trade Woody Marks. Maybe you don't want to trade Shedeur Sanders, and he's getting his first start this week. Or you may not want to give up your 26 or 27 first. So the point of that segment for the contenders is there's plenty of points out there that you can chase, and I'm going to hit some of those names here in just a minute. But you don't have to blow up your future giving up your 26 or 27 firsts to do it. But as Les Snead and the Rams once famously said, fuck them picks, especially the 2026 firsts. I mean, I looked through my rankings for this upcoming class. They should be on Player Profiler. I know Jeremiah Ratzlev has put those together. I don't know if they're ready yet to be published, but they're coming. And I look at it and like this class is largely one quarterback in Mendoza, because everything that I hear, Dante Moore's going back to school. There's a couple of 2 or 3 running backs, but loves the prize, 2 or 3 wide receivers. So in a 1 QB league, there might be 5 guys, because you're not taking a quarterback in the top 5 in a 1 QB league. So there might be 5 guys. So the picks 1 through 5 are the valuable ones. That's not a contenders first. And in a superflex tight end premium, 7 or 8. I wanted to say 6, 7 there, but the parents will just, the parent in me will just not allow me to do that. But my point is this year's contenders picks really won't sniff a super high upside guy. So if you have to spend your 26 first to do it, I don't have a problem with it. If you're getting a guy that you like. Like I said, I'm here for getting points like an Uncle Rico. But a trade that I would like to make for Rico Dowdle is, how about I give you my 26 first? And if you're a contender, that's going to be somewhere in the 108 to 112 range. Okay. But I get Rico and you're 26 second or 27 second, because the gap between those picks, especially if this team's a non-contender, you're probably going to get 6 picks, 8 picks of a gap. And I would really like to push that pick into 2027. Because the 2027 class is likely where you're going to see more of the quarterbacks. That's where I'm hearing Lenora Sellers is going to come out. Arch Manning, whether you're thinking he's a first-round pick or not, I don't know. We just mentioned Moore, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. I'm drawing a blank. And then the wide receiver Ryan Williams out of Alabama. It's going to be a more loaded class in 27. So I have no problem doing that. Another move. So this one's for rebuilders, and I broke rebuilders down into 1 year out or more than 1 year out. If you're more than 1 year out, I want you to focus on trying to get that wide receiver. If you can get one of the top 3 tight ends, okay. And then Superflex, let's look for a quarterback. Like right now, a great quarterback or 3 quarterbacks you could potentially get are Joe Burrow, Jackson Dart, Jaden Daniels, and even CJ Stroud. Because I'll rank the levels of pain in the world. The greatest pain in the world is when a grown man has a cold, a simple cold. That is the 3rd most painful thing in the world. The 2nd most painful thing in the world, so I've been told, childbirth. The most painful thing in the world, playing in a dynasty league, a superflex dynasty league, and not having a quarterback. You got to have a quarterback. Go get a quarterback. You got to. So if you can move, you're not contending, and you can move an aged veteran like a Matt Stafford and a future first, go get it. You're not going to get a quarterback, even with a non-contenders first. You're not going to do that in a superflex league. Now, it's going to be much more difficult for you to pry away a Brock Bowers, a Trey McBride, a Tyler Warren, especially in a tight end premium league. But those are the guys that I'm looking to get. And then from a wide receiver standpoint, can you move Amon-Ra St. Brown or Justin Jefferson? And can you get Emeka Egbuka and Tet McMillan plus a 27 first? Because people aren't super savvy. They're not as savvy as you. They're not listening to Dynasty podcasts in November. And they're not thinking about 2026, the rookie draft. And they're probably damn sure not thinking about 2027 and the rookie draft. So those are some of the names I have no problem moving as a contender, as a rebuilder more than a year away. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's playing at a high level. JJ's not having his best year, but let's go get some of those young guys. Let's go get one of those rookies that's playing at a good level and a pick, because you're not contending next year. And then for the rebuilders 1 year out, if you're 1 year out, that tells me you've probably got a quarterback or 2 in a super flex. You've got some wide receivers. You got a tight end you like. Where you're probably struggling right now is the running back position. So you're looking to get and no one's going to give you JT's season, but you're looking at someone who has a Jonathan Taylor type season he's having this year in their range of outcomes. And guys that I had down for that is like Bucky Irving. People may not know this, and we're going to talk about him later in the show notes. Rachaad White's a free agent, and I believe so is Sean Tucker. And I'm not letting one injury-filled season deter me from Bucky Irving. That's a good offense. Baker's not going anywhere. The offensive line's been good. Bucky will bounce back. He's not been playing. He's very acquirable right now. So if maybe you're 1 year away in a rebuild because the injury bug got you good this year, or you just didn't, you thought you were going to contend this year because you've got Travion Henderson and you got RJ Harvey, and they're just now starting to pop. You start adding a guy like Bucky Irving, and the other name I have down here, Omarion Hampton. Again, I can't figure out why he's still on the IR knowing that he's eligible, but hopefully he comes back next week when the Chargers come back from the bye. But you only have, if those two in particular, if you're going for those two, go get them now, because they come back and they start helping people, they're going to be a lot less likely to trade them off their rosters. So that is just some general news and notes of some of the trade things that I thought of going into this show. And now are the 27 names. And I'll kind of throw each name into a bucket, and I'll give you a little bit of context at the end. I'm seeing a lot of people watch on Twitter. I'm not seeing a lot of people watch on Player Profiler Now YouTube channel. But if you have trade questions and I have time at the end, if you're throwing them out there on the YouTube channel, I'll try to answer your trade questions at the end. First one, and this is, I'm putting this person in the 1 year away, but they could maybe help you later this season, especially on a contender, and that's Terry McLaurin. Still banged up, but he just signed the big mega extension. He's not going anywhere. If he were to get cut or traded next year in 2026, he'd have a $42 million dead cap hit. And the year after that, 2027, he'd have an $18 million cap hit. So he's going to largely be in Washington. And I'm not too concerned about the injury. Terry's never been an injury-plagued guy. And to be honest, this is kind of expected because he held out all training camp. It's a stereotype for a reason. Guys that hold out of training camp looking for contract extensions, they tend to get injured in season, and it tends to be soft tissue, which has plagued Terry this year. I believe it's a quad. I am totally fine if you're still contending or you're ready to contend next year, especially if you're in like some of the leagues that I'm in. Now, if you're in a league where maybe you start 9 players, you start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, blah, 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 that's fine. But plenty of our Dynasty WarZone patron leagues, we start 3 and even 4 wide receivers. And they're 12-team leagues. So you're talking in a 12-team league, you're starting 48. And in a 3 wide receiver league with 12 GMs, you're starting 36. Terry McLaurin's going to look awful good on a contending roster at the end of this season, and especially next season. Jaden Daniels will come back from his little injuries. I like Terry McLaurin. I just made a trade offer on him. The GM in particular that I'm referring to, he wanted Shedeur Sanders in a second. I countered with Shedeur in a third. I'll let you know how that worked out for Terry McLaurin. Number 2, and again, these are in no particular order. I got George Pickens. And this is one where, I like to give Jerry shit for being Jerry. Remember, he said a couple of weeks ago he was out on George Pickens when CeeDee Lamb came back. And I was like, I don't know, Jerry. And guess who's currently second in the league in receiving yards and third in the league in tied for third in the league in receiving touchdowns? It's George Pickens. And I looked, and part of when I compiled this list, I looked at, pending free agents and who does that open up work for. The wide receiver free agent class sucks. The free agent running back class, on the other hand, really good. I mean, for me, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, and maybe if you think Jacoby Myers can be a thing. Those are your really big name pending free agent wide receivers. There will be teams lined up to pay George Pickens big money. And I could see New England. I know everybody's like, and I don't know why, outside of Mike Vrabel coached A.J. Brown once before, but why would New England want to give up serious draft capital, take on a guy that's already making a bunch of money to trade for A.J. Brown when you can be one of the front runners to try to pick up George Pickens? If Mike Vrabel can handle A.J. Brown, stands to reason he can handle George Pickens. I throw out New England out there because so many of us are high on Drake May. He could go to a lot of spots. He could stay in Dallas and continue to ball out. I think that would hurt the overall ceiling of CeeDee Lamb. But George Pickens is great, and you're going to pay a first plus for George Pickens right now. But if he were to go to that, and that's the one that I have the top of my head, if he were to go to New England, that mythical free agent offseason landing spot for a wide receiver, you're not going to overpay. So I like George Pickens quite a bit. The pending free agency is going to be interesting because I don't think Dallas can franchise tag him, given that they're already paying CD a ton of money and they're paying Dak a ton of money. But the Bengals did it, and we saw how well that franchisers ran. I've got a Woody Marks. Woody is kind of guy could really go on a 1 year away or a contender. He's shown more than capable, and this team needs to invest in the offensive line. Their offensive line's not very good. Didn't look at their cap situation, but Woody Marks is someone that I'm interested in. Like today, I'd give a contender second. That's probably better than that GM paid. And it depended on when they drafted Woody Marks. Woody Marks steamed up, rightfully so, by the way. He was one of my guys. He's one of, if not my most rostered running back across all my leagues. So I've believed myself for a while, but I don't think he's going to be like that cornerstone dynasty piece, but a guy you definitely want on your roster. This next one's like more of a throw-in guy. You want to get this guy thrown in on a trade, and that's Noah Gray. Travis Kelce's 36 and is a pending free agent. And it really feels like this is going to be his last year. The Chiefs are 500. He's getting ready to get married to a woman who makes more money than the federal government, a billionaire. And, how much longer does he want to do this? He's got his championships. He's got a great podcast with his brother. There'll be jobs out there. And that leaves a job for a guy like Noah Gray. And I think for at least the 2026 season, it's Noah Gray's job. Because even if they draft a rookie or they bring in a free agent, I think it will be his job to lose. It's a short-term asset. But if you're making a trade for someone else and you see that other GM has Noah Gray on his roster, ask that other GM, hey, will you throw in Noah Gray? Or just click Noah Gray as a trade. Or put like a third-round pick that you could care less about, a 27 or a 26 third. And if they decline, say, well, if you don't want to give me the third, will you throw in Noah Gray? Especially in a tight end premium league, because I think it'll be his job at least for 2026. This next guy, he is slowly climbing up my wide receiver rankings, and a guy that I'm really liking, and it's not so much about me, but it's really more about guys like Bo Nix and a guy like Sean Payton, and that's Troy Franklin. He's slowly becoming the guy in Denver. Cortland Sutton just got extended in the offseason. He's not going anywhere. He would have a huge dead cap hit similar to that of Terry McLaurin. Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, the team invested second-round picks in those guys, and they're fine for that role. But Sean Payton, throughout his career, he's had good wide receivers, but he's never had like the Jamar Chase level wide receiver because, let's be honest, Sean Payton's very arrogant, and he believes his system makes the wide receiver and not the other way around. And Troy Franklin, currently only 22 years old. Second year of his rookie deal, got the college connection with Bo Nix. We're starting to see him play better as he adjusts to life in the NFL. People aren't talking enough about him, and definitely someone on my radar across the board, any format, because he's going to help you down the stretch this year. And because of his age, he could help you in any kind of a rebuild. An all-around target for me in Dynasty, Troy Franklin. This next one will surprise you, and his age surprises me because it feels like he's been around for 100 years, but it's Tyler Algier. He's only 25. He currently has standalone flex-worthy value, meaning that you can plug him in right now, especially given the injuries and the buys, and this dude's a pending free agent. And how many times did we say Kansas City needs a running back, and this team needs a running back, and that team needs a running back? This guy could be next year's Rico Dowdle, meaning that he winds up on like a 1 year deal, kind of a prove it deal, and maybe he becomes the Thunder to RJ Harvey's Lightning. I think Atlanta would love to re-sign him, but given that his age, he's only 25, and if you get him cheap, like I'm thinking contenders, I think you could get Algier and a third for just a second, just because of his name. That might be ambitious on my part to think that, but a guy, given that he's a free agent, I'm 100% in on Tyler Algier, both now and as like that team that's a year away. If you are more than a year away, I wouldn't recommend going out and getting Tyler Algier, but if you have Tyler Algier on a team that's more than a year away, make sure you point out all of those little nuggets that I just mentioned as a reason to get more for your Tyler Algier share. Rico Dowdle, Uncle Rico has been one of my guys for a while. And again, he's top 5 in the league in rushing. But here's the thing, he's a free agent. How many teams are looking at him right now and thinking, hey, we could add him? Could that be the Cincinnati Bengals? It's not a bad spot. Is it the Jaguars if Travis Etienne walks in free agency? Don't know. But I know Rico has proven it. He played well in Dallas last year. He's played well in Carolina this year. And there's going to be a GM that looks at him and says, hey, he could play a major role for us. And if that's a contender, you're going to love it. This next guy, mentioned him last week, but it bears repeating. He's starting to ramp back up. I don't think you're going to see him this week. I think it'll be more than likely next week. If I remember correctly, on Thanksgiving, the Packers play the Lions, and that's Jaden Reed. I know Tucker Kraft is pass receiving option 1 in Green Bay, but they're not going to invest any more high draft picks. At least I can't see them doing it, given that they just traded away a couple of firsts from Micah Parsons. They just drafted Michael Golden, kind of a bust so far. Christian Watson, he looks okay, but always injured. Jaden Reed, again, a guy that I think is super talented. And, he's got to prove it. He's got to stay healthy, but a guy that I am collecting right now. These next 2 guys, I'm going to give you 2 guys, and then I'm going to take my second break. They're both on the Buccaneers, and I don't know which one's which. I know Jalen McMillan's been out all season, and Tez Johnson. You can pick which one. These are great guys to put on the back end of dynasty rosters, again, like our patron leagues at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone, where we start 3, 4 wide receivers, and then we start flexes beyond that. Like it's a fixed must start 3, must start 4, and then you still have 2 or 3 flexes to fill on top of that. So these are the kind of guys that I'm looking to acquire, because one of these 2 guys is going to be the wide receiver 2 in this offense. Mike Evans, 33 years old, pending free agent. The streak of consecutive 1,000-yard seasons is over. He's got his championship. I don't know that he retires, but I don't think that he's going to be a Buccaneer next year. Sterling Shepard, 32. And Chris Godwin, kind of playing the hokey pokey. 1 minute he's in, 1 minute he's out. He's not played. He's played 1 game in the last 54 weeks. 1. This is a team that needs one of these guys to step up. It's good to see Tez Johnson getting work with Baker Mayfield right now. I liked what I saw out of Jalen McMillan last year. I think he's largely under the radar and probably free. He could be. Now, if you play in a 12 GM roster 25 with taxi spot leagues, so everybody's essentially got anywhere from 25 to 30 guys. You're talking 3 to, 100 plus guys rostered. He might not be available, but I bet you there's a handful of leagues of you listening right now where Jalen McMillan could be on the waiver wire. He is totally worth a stash. I think he and Tez Johnson could be really good because, again, I don't see Tampa Bay investing heavily in the wide receiver position. They just invested a first in Egbuka. One of these 2 guys is going to be the 2, and we'll figure it out from there. And if you're looking at names like McMillan or Algier or Franklin because you're looking for next year, that means you're not playing for this year. And if you're not playing for this year but you still want to play, check out Flex 6.
I know your sad draft season is over, but just because the NFL season starts doesn't mean the drafting stops, because Fast Draft has the Flex 6 frenzy. You're drafting 6 guys for the Sunday slate. It's fast, it's furious, it's fun. And as with everything on Fast Draft, there are no salaries. Woo! So go to draftfaster.com, get the app, use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Yeah, and thank you guys for your patience. I am a one-man band here tonight while Jerry's taking care of his pup. I've got to write down the time codes for my wonderful producer, Nick, so he can get that done for me. I got a bunch more. I don't even know where I'm at. I'm sitting here looking at my list. I still got a crap ton of names to go. Not going to spend a ton of time on Alec Pierce because I brought him up last week, but I will not pretend because I'm a biased Colts fan that he is the wide receiver 1 in this free agent wide receiver class, but he's definitely my 2. Like I said, it's Pickens 1, Pierce 2, Jacoby Myers 3. And I mentioned last week, I'd love to get him for a second, maybe a couple of seconds. I'm not paying a first. But again, if you're in those deep, start a lot of rostered wide receivers and then flex spots, this guy's good 2 years in a row. And again, maybe they don't want to pay the freight in New England for George Pickens. Maybe Alec Pierce lands there. Feels like a Vrabel guy. Went to Cincinnati. Vrabel went to Ohio State. They got the Buckeye connection. I don't know. I'm grabbing at straws. I'm making shit up. I'm just saying I like Alec Pierce, good wide receiver, and I'd love to see the targets going up in Indy. So get him before he goes crazy. He can also help you this year. This next guy, I never thought I would say his name. He's also a pending free agent. He's also only 25, and that's Kyle Pitts. And I don't think Atlanta's going to be able to bring him back, given the whole conundrum of drafting a quarterback as high as they did in Michael Penix, and then that same offseason signing Kirk Cousins to a huge deal. It just doesn't feel like they're going to want to pay him that franchise tag money. And if I'm Kyle Pitts, I want to get as far out of Atlanta as possible. And you're seeing it now. You're seeing it in LA with the Rams. You're seeing it in Pittsburgh. You're seeing it in a lot of places. You actually see it a little bit with the Colts with Mo Alley Cox and Tyler Warren. You're seeing more 12 and 13 personnel. And it's a copycat league. And more teams are going to start drafting and picking up more wide receivers. I made the bold prediction a couple of weeks ago, but I think Kyle Pitts could be the tight end version of Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. I think he could wind up with a guy like Kyle Shanahan, and they use him and George Kittle as like essentially fancy receivers. I just want to see Kyle Pitts not be working with Arthur Smith and some weird, Raheem Morris offensive coordinator team. I never bought the hype with Kyle Pitts. He was drafted ahead of guys like Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. I never got that in the NFL, but he's young. He's athletic. He's talented. He's flashed a little bit. He's got a 1,000-yard season under his belt. Let him wind up with a good quarterback and a good OC. For what you get him for today, I'm not saying that he's going to jump into that Warren, McBride, Bowers class, but he could easily jump into that tight end 7 range again with the right spot, which takes me back to the tight end position, because I was, again, looking at free agents. It's Cade Otton. This dude's only 26 years old, pending free agent, and since week 5, which I believe was the week Mike Evans went out with the clavicle injury, he's been tight end 10, and that includes a bye week, and he's still a top 10 tight end. In that time, now mind you, Oronde Gadsden has played one more game, but he scored 20 less points in that time, so about a 1.5 a game less than Gadsden. And I'm not saying Cade Otton's a Gadsden. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying here's a guy who's playing well now, and my co-host on the Sleep Stream Stash podcast, Mr. Johnny Tuma, we have a group chat, and he was talking in our group chat about needing a backfill tight end. And in the deal he was working, he was looking at AJ Barner. But if you need a backup tight end or a tight end too, Cade Otton's a nice choice. Given his age, I mean, you're hoping for a Jake Ferguson type situation. I don't want him to land in Kansas City, but he feels like he could mesh very well in that offense. Don't know. And then I got 2 more tight ends for you. This is my free agent and free agent tight end section. Both Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews are pending 2026 free agents. Both. I don't know how you structure contracts that way as a GM, because Lamar likes both of these guys. And I think Likely is more likely to stay in Baltimore than Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, in that 30 range. But again, we talked about Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's played into his, 36 season. I believe Zach Ertz is 35 or 36. So 30 for a tight end is not old. Mark Andrews is the kind of guy that can land somewhere in free agency and really rock the apple cart. But I think people wanted this to be Isaiah Likely's year. If you were one of those people and you're sitting on a decent chunk of Isaiah Likely, you're probably going to like it come March. I think they let Mark Andrews go. I think they need to invest in other parts of the team. I think Likely will get a more team-friendly deal, and Mark Andrews will probably be playing somewhere else. And again, I mentioned that 12 and 13 personnel. I just continue to expect to see more of it. And then the final guy, David Njoku. David Njoku, pending free agent, and he's only 29. He's been in the league since 2017, not even 30 years old. Now, he said that he wants to be a Brown for life, but they just drafted Harold Fanning, who's looked pretty good. And if you're David Njoku, wouldn't you like to go out and try to chase a championship? Go out and join up with a team. Like maybe Cade Otton leaves the Buccaneers and he could go backfill him. I don't know. Tyler Higbee is on IR. I'm hoping Terrence Ferguson gets a shot, but the Rams could be a really good spot. All these guys, Pitts and Otton and Likely and Andrews and Njoku, there's going to be some off-season tight end moves given the popularity of the position in the NFL and the talent of these guys. The running back class and the tight end class for free agents is really, really good. And I'm trying to get ahead of it because I kind of see which way the wind is blowing. Got a couple of emergency and then deep throw-in guys. If you're in a superflex league and you continue to lose quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers is banged up. Daniel Jones popped up on, and I don't think it's serious, but he popped up with a calf strain today on the practice report. I'm guessing he's going to play, but I don't think the Commanders are going to rush Jaden Daniels back. And if you're looking for free 99 quarterback play, weeks 15 through 17, Marcus Mariota plays the Giants, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. The Giants and the Cowboys are two really good matchups in week 15 and 17. The Eagles, that defense has been on fire lately, but he's free. So you don't have to go out and overpay for a Matthew Stafford or an Aaron Rodgers if he continues to play. You could just go out and limp along with a guy like Marcus Mariota, complete throw-in. Another guy, you think those matchups are good for Marcus Mariota? They're even better for Chris Rodriguez Jr. And though he's a young guy, I don't see him being the RB of the future for the Commanders. Just like I didn't see Bill being the RB of the future for the Commanders. They'll probably dip a toe in that free agent market this offseason, but those are great matchups for Chris Rodriguez. They just named him a captain. Again, he's a guy worth a third, but before he continued, and he's played well. He's played well the past couple of weeks. I've got two, and I really wanted to save the one guy for last, but I'll forget, and I don't have time to skip around him. But these are throwing guys. These are guys that when you're crafting that trade to send to the other league, I'm looking to get in there, and I'm looking really at next year. And I'm looking at Carson Wentz, and I'm looking at Zach Wilson. Now, Carson Wentz at this point in his career is a backup, but you're just looking for that guy. The reason why I still have a ton of Carson Wentz, and I used him in those weeks he was starting because I have Brock Purdy, I have Joe Burrow, and I have Mac Jones. That's the reason why. And we always joke on the show, I'm the guy that collects the old, out of place, out of a job quarterbacks. I stack these guys because they just keep popping up like moles. You think they're gone, you think they're out of the league. Carson Wentz didn't pop up on a roster till late in the offseason. And then all of a sudden, he played 3 or 4 meaningful games. And in my opinion, he'd still be starting for Minnesota if he hadn't got hurt. I know us Justin Jefferson GMs would love for Carson Wentz to be throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, but I digress. I think Carson Wentz, if you're a winning team, he's the kind of guy you want to be your backup. Last year, it was Andy Reid in Kansas City. This year, it was Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. He's not a starter. You're not building a roster around him. He's not a QB3 in a superflex league, but he's the kind of guy I'd rather hold him than a lot of other guys. And then Zach Wilson, the old Cougar hunter himself. This guy's only 26, and he spent last year with Sean Payton. He's spending this year with Mike McDaniel. That's McDaniels in New England, but he's been around good offensive coordinators. And this is the kind of guy, I don't know that he'll be next year's Sam Darnold or Baker, But I could easily see an offensive-minded coach saying, hey, I'm going to give Zach Wilson that Daniel Jones chance in Arizona, or pick another spot, because this year's quarterback class does not look to be super great. 27 looks better. Don't know. But I could easily see someone, and I think that's the new model in the NFL. I think that coaches are going to go, hey, instead of spending like the 107 on a quarterback, or was it the 111 the Vikings spent on J.J. McCarthy, instead of doing that and gambling, and you're drafting a guy at 111 because it's need, and quarterback's the most important position on the field, that you just may try and give a guy like Zach Wilson a shot. And again, he's totally free. No one's going to bat an eye if you make a move on Zach Wilson. And keep an eye on Zach Wilson. He may make a move on your mom. I have this guy listed as my all or nothing guy. He is all or nothing, because likely what you get from him from week 12 to the end of the season very well could be the end of what you get from him. But he's been playing better as of late. It's Derrick Henry, a true warhorse. If you go get Derrick Henry, you're not counting on anything in 2026 or 2027. You are contending. You are hedging bets. You are making sure that you have a guy, and they've got a good schedule coming down the back end of the season. He's going to put it all on the line. They're in the hunt for that division. And we're seeing the last part of a career of greatness at the running back position. This is one I always brag and talk about how I always get things right. This is one that I didn't get right. I didn't see it with Derrick Henry. He was kind of stuck in Tennessee to start his career. But, man, from year 3 of his career on, this dude has been an absolute beast, absolutely crushing people. And it's coming to an end, sadly. Now, I could say all of this, and Derrick Henry, much like Tom Brady, could be the running back that is the running back version of Tom Brady, and he could play till he's 35. But it's starting to finally slow down. If I only get 6 games out of him, cool, because there are probably going to be 6 really good games, and he's probably going to help you win a championship. And again, you may already have a couple of stud starters. You can always throw him in the flex, and it's always in case of emergency. You could have Derrick Henry. And again, we're watching the tail end of greatness. I was wrong to begin with, but I've enjoyed it ever since. Couple other running backs that are exciting now and in the future. Breece Hall. First of all, everybody knows, not everybody listens to this show knows Breece Hall is a pending free agent. But his games down the stretch are Atlanta, not very good. You saw the Jonathan Taylor game. Miami, not very good. Jacksonville, better against the pass, ironically. Not great against the run. New Orleans in week 16. Week 17, not great. That's New England. I'll give you that. But if Breece Hall can get me to a Dynasty Fantasy Championship, I'm going to love him for it. And he's the guy. He is the highest rated free agent running back to be on the board. Per Spotrac, whatever the hell, he is projected to be like a $10 million a year running back. Dude's good. And again, I always go to New England as the A1 landing spot for a fantasy wide receiver. I think Kansas City's the A1 landing spot for a fantasy running back that's not already occupied. Love this guy, goes without saying. And then I'm going to, chunk his draft mate, Kenneth Walker III, in there too. I love him. I don't know that Seattle loves him as much as we love him. They let guys like Zach Charbonnet, steal his touchdowns. He's had his own injury issues. I don't know that he's a Seattle Seahawk next year. Could be. Maybe they re-sign him because Sam's on kind of a team-friendly-ish deal for a quarterback, and the defense is already really good. But I think he's definitely going to test the free agent waters. And you know what? You know who's going to be the guy in a contract year next year that's already vulturing touchdowns? Zach Charbonnet. That's the move of being ahead of a step of being ahead. Try saying that 3 times fast. But if Kenneth Walker leaves in free agency, Zach Charbonnet goes into being the RB1 in a really good offense. Could they draft someone? Sure. I'm not super stoked about this running back class. It's got a couple of decent guys, but this is a run the ball, play defense kind of team. So you could get either one for different reasons with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. The last three coming down the home stretch, Javonte Williams, he's a pending free agent. And for those of us that have been doing Dynasty for a while, we have to absolutely love and be super excited to see what this guy has been doing in 2025. It's kind of what we thought he could have been doing all along. And he's a great reminder that just because a guy has 2 or 3 really injury-riddled years doesn't mean that at some point, J.K. Dobbins is J.K. Dobbins. It just can't stay healthy. To this far, Williams has stayed healthy. He's crushing it. He's a top 8 running back on the season. He's a pending free agent, but he's the one I see sticking around. So he's going to have a couple of years of value, really like Javonte Williams. And then I got a couple of others. Rachaad White. Bet you didn't know Rachaad White was a pending free agent. And he's playing now. Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's also on this list for me because if Rachaad White leaves, that's not only was Bucky doing great last year with Rachaad White, that could be bell cow there. But Rachaad White has a very, very NFL-friendly skill set that a lot of teams could covet. And maybe a team like the Kansas City Chiefs can't afford to pay Breece Hall the Breece Hall money that he wants. So could we see Rachaad White be the lightning to Cam Scadaboo's thunder in New York? Don't know. I just know that he's been talented. When he's been given the majority of the reps, he's played at a high level. And be very curious to see what Rachaad White does in the offseason. I had Sean Tucker down, but I did not realize it came out in our patron group chat because I shared all these names earlier for those folks. I did not realize Sean Tucker also a pending free agent. So it's going to be Bucky Irving and everybody else just kind of figuring it out. I got some questions here in the in the chat, so I'm going to try to get to some of these. Thank you for those that jumped in. Jamie likes the 6'7". Yeah, I don't know where I heard. First of all, I'm way ahead of the 6'7". Speaking of 6'7", I was way ahead of the 6'7" because I was around teenage baseball players and I couldn't figure out what the fuck they were talking about in the dugout. Now I know, and it's ridiculous. At the place to be, he's saying, hello, you beautiful people. There's Jerry. Jerry can't come to work, but Jerry can post in the group chat. So I'll give him a pass. Jamie Parag, always out there. He said, Zach Wilson better stay away from Harold Fanning's mom. You know what? We laugh, but could you see like Zach Wilson in that Stefanski offense? Maybe they draft a wide receiver. I don't know. But it could be worse. And well, there you go. There were people in the chat, but they weren't asking a lot of questions. Trade special. And we're going to do something similar tomorrow. If you are a normal consumer of the Dynasty WarZone, check out Sleep Stream Stash. We are streaming tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's me, Evan Ringler, and Johnny Tuma. We usually give you 2 sleepers, 2 streamers for the DFS player, and then 2 stashes for the Dynasty players. I'm sure we'll talk trades. I don't know what we're doing with the show next week because it's Thanksgiving. We will do a show because, well, we always do a show here at the Dynasty WarZone. We'll figure something out. And old Jerry's got to go take care of that dog. Thank you to everybody who jumped in the chat. If you have any questions, you can hit me up at DWZ Memphis. And I think that's largely it, guys. I'm going to go watch the Bills and the Buccaneers. I guess Baker has an illness. I have no idea what's going on because I've been doing a podcast, but we'll be back next week. We will figure out the show. It'll either be, if I had to guess, I would say it would either be Wednesday. Jerry said something about Thursday because he's not going anywhere. I don't know. There'll be Dynasty WarZone next week. We'll be talking Dynasty Fantasy Football. But you probably didn't show up thinking you were going to get 27 names. You got 27 names and probably a couple more, to be honest. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for putting up for the solo edition. And until next time, y'all have a great weekend. Thanks, guys.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.